Let's get started with our first news of the night. Jack Della Maddalena wanted to mute Daniel Cormier's commentary. Yes, you heard that right. Jack was not at all impressed with how DC called the fights tonight, and he didn't just keep it to himself either. Instead, he went straight to his Instagram story to let the entire MMA world know exactly how he felt. He first fired a shot at the broadcaster itself, writing, "Every Sunday it takes me 25 minutes to order pay-per-view on KO Sports. You suck, KO." Pretty harsh words right there, and you can already imagine the reaction from fans in Australia who share that same frustration with the service. But Jack didn't stop there. He doubled down with something that immediately caught fire among fight fans. Jack posted, "The only way KO can redeem themselves, DC mute button." That little jab spread like wildfire because the MMA community already has very mixed opinions on Daniel's commentary. Some fans genuinely love DC's style. He's funny, he's entertaining, and his experience as a former champion gives him insights that few others can match. They believe he brings personality to the broadcast, makes big moments feel even bigger, and gives casual fans a way to connect with the technical side of the sport. But on the flip side, there's another group of fans who have long been critical of DC behind the mic. They say he gets too emotional, sometimes biased when talking about fighters he likes, and often goes off on tangents instead of focusing on the action happening inside the cage. For those fans, hearing Jack Della Maddalena put it so bluntly felt like validation. And make no mistake, Jack is not some random fighter at the bottom of the card. He's one of Australia's brightest prospects, an exciting contender in the welterweight division, and someone the UFC clearly has high hopes for. When a fighter like him openly calls out a UFC Hall of Famer and one of the company's most recognizable broadcast voices, people are going to notice. It's not every day you see an active contender throwing shade at a legend like Daniel Cormier, who is not only a former double champ but also one of the most respected figures in MMA history. DC has built a career outside the octagon as a commentator, analyst, and podcast host, and he's considered a key part of the UFC's media presence. So to have a current fighter suggest a mute button for him was both savage and hilarious at the same time. Of course, this isn't the first time DC's commentary has been questioned. Even in the past, we've seen fighters like Dominic Cruz, Tony Ferguson, and others take subtle or direct shots at how he calls fights. Every time, it sparks debate across social media about what makes a good commentator and whether being a former fighter always translates into being a great analyst. But that's MMA for you, where controversy never sleeps. Whether you love DC or can't stand his style, one thing's for sure, Jack Della Maddalena's Instagram story just added fuel to a debate that isn't going away anytime soon. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we'd truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Moving on to the second news of the night, Lerone Murphy just shocked the MMA world by defeating Aaron Pico via a first-round knockout. And it wasn't just any knockout, it was another spinning elbow knockout. Back-to-back spinning elbow KOs in the UFC, and that's officially the first time in history that has ever happened. Murphy didn't just get his hand raised, he also got a performance bonus, joining Carlos Pros and getting recognized for big finishes on the card. And let me tell you, the MMA community went crazy with reactions. Alexander Volkanovski himself reacted, saying, "See you in December, Lone Murphy. Congrats." Max Holloway kept it simple but funny, posting the "another one" gif and writing "spinning." Michael Johnson said, "Wow, 2 of them." Jared Gordon chimed in with "Gez." Josh Emmett just posted the eyes emoji. And Paulo Costa, he admitted he was glad he placed his bet on Murphy. Adrian Jan said, "Oh my goodness, that was clan." Derek Brunson reacted with, "Wow, UFC is the standard. The curse continues." And yes, Ariel Helwani was already matchmaking. He said it should be Volkanovski versus Murphy next. He followed it up with another interesting point. The 3 biggest names to come over from Bellator and PL this year have all lost their debuts. Michael Chiesa also gave Murphy massive praise, saying give that man a title fight. The UFC itself reposted the knockout highlight. Tim Welch thought Pico looked sharp until the knockout landed. Bilal Muhammad took a playful jab, saying Murphy copied Praz's homework. Before the fight, Anthony Pettis was confident that Aaron Pico would break the so-called Bellator curse, but after the fight he admitted UFC greater than any organization in the world. Paul Felder went big with his praise, writing, "Lone Murphy, wow, 17 Nodder title next." Again, the UFC reposted that as well, and Dan Hardy added his respect, saying, "That was an incredible knockout. Congratulations, Lerone Murphy." Afterward, Murphy spoke about the fight. He said, "Yeah, do you know what? I'm just happy to get a knockout. I've been working hard and I took this fight on 3 weeks' notice. It was a big risk, a big risk. But I got the reward out of it, so I'm happy. I just had to believe in my own skill set and believe that I was good enough to do it. But don't get me wrong, he was very tough and I needed something big like that to get him out of there." He continued, "I knew he was going to come hard in the first round, but I didn't expect him to be that sharp. That's where experience kicks in. I've been in there with the best of the best, and I know those early rounds can be difficult. You just need that mental toughness to survive and then start doing your own stuff." When asked about what's next, Murphy said, "December sounds good to me. It gives me time to improve, get better, and fight the champ. That knockout was crazy. People want to see stuff like that. People don't just want decisions. I get it. So yeah, it's my time." Move on to another news. The highly anticipated fight between Khamzat and Du Plessis finally went down, and the action was intense right from the opening seconds. Within the very first 5 seconds of round 1, Khamzat wasted absolutely no time and shot in for a quick takedown. The crowd immediately reacted as he drove Du Plessis to the canvas, setting the tone for what would become a completely one-sided start. Most of the first round played out on the ground, with Khamzat controlling the action, advancing positions, and applying constant pressure. It was a dominant round, with Du Plessis showing little offense while struggling to escape the grappling clinic he was being put through. Moving into round 2, things didn't change much. Once again, Khamzat secured a takedown early, forcing Du Plessis into defensive mode. Every time Du Plessis tried to create distance or stand up, Khamzat dragged him right back down. The dominance was clear, and fans watching knew Du Plessis needed to make major adjustments or risk being completely shut out. Round 2 ended much like the first, with Khamzat firmly in control, landing shots on the ground and making Du Plessis work just to survive. By round 3, the story of the fight was becoming obvious. Khamzat had his way in the grappling exchanges, repeatedly trapping Du Plessis in a crucifix position. This left Du Plessis completely helpless, as he absorbed strikes without being able to intelligently defend. The referee kept a close eye on the action, but Du Plessis just barely did enough to keep the fight from being stopped. Still, there was no question that Khamzat was dominating from start to finish. Round 4 played out in almost identical fashion. Another takedown, another suffocating display of control, and more moments where Du Plessis looked like he had no answers at all. The commentators pointed out the relentless pace and strength of Khamzat, who looked unstoppable at this point. Du Plessis was breathing heavily, visibly frustrated, and simply couldn't find a way to keep the fight standing where he may have had a chance. But then came round 5, and for the first time in the entire fight, the fans were given a glimpse of hope for Du Plessis. With just under 30 seconds left in the match, Du Plessis managed to lock in what looked like a serious submission attempt. The arena roared as he squeezed with everything he had, trying dirtly to force a tap and pull off one of the greatest comebacks ever. For a brief moment, it looked like Khamzat might actually be in trouble, but showing his composure and championship-level toughness, Khamzat stayed calm, defended correctly, and managed to escape before the buzzer sounded. When it was all said and done, the judges had no difficult task. Khamzat was awarded the victory, a decision that reflected his overwhelming dominance through the first 4 rounds. Although Du Plessis had that late submission attempt, it simply wasn't enough to overturn the control Khamzat displayed throughout the fight. This performance reminded everyone why Khamzat is considered one of the most dangerous fighters in the division, and while Du Plessis showed heart, he was simply outclassed from start to finish. Shawn Strickland wasted no time reacting to the fight, jumping straight onto social media with bold claims. He said, "I'm probably the only one in the UFC that can outgrapple that little for 5 rounds. Well, looks like I gotta stack some W's to fight that little." As always, Shawn didn't hold back, instantly sparking debate across the MMA community. One fan fired back quickly, telling him, "You're delusional if you believe that." But Shawn, true to form, doubled down and refused to back off. He responded confidently, "You understand that I've done it on many occasions. On every occasion." That only added fuel to the fire. Former fighter Mayhem Miller even jumped into the conversation, saying it would be a good matchup. Shawn didn't hesitate, replying, "Yeah man, I promise you I out-grapple him in 5 rounds any day of the week." For Strickland, this wasn't trash talk, it was his reality. He has always believed in his ability to impose a grinding style on anyone, and he wasn't about to let fans dismiss that. The back and forth continued when another fan asked a fair question: if Shawn truly believed in his grappling, why didn't he use it more effectively against Du Plessis, the way Khamzat just did? Shawn admitted, "I probably should have. I'm probably the best grappler in the UFC. I just like to box. I even smoked RDR in grappling when he came to the gym." That comment raised eyebrows. Fans have long known Shawn prefers to stand and strike, but claiming to be the best grappler in the UFC is a massive statement, especially in a division filled with elite wrestlers and submission specialists. Still, Shawn wasn't joking. He seemed completely convinced of his skill set and eager to remind everyone that he has tested himself against high-level competition behind closed doors. Some fans went further, urging him to step up and save the division. Shawn's response made it clear how personal this felt to him. He admitted, "It pains me to see that chant for Strickland. Watching someone else hold the belt, especially someone he's confident he can beat, was tough to stomach." He elaborated further about his past training experiences, saying, "When he was in the gym, I would out-wrestle him. He would have a solid 4 minutes of dry humping my legs and then he would utterly break." That statement painted a vivid picture of how Shawn views his edge over the champion, portraying himself as the one guy capable of weathering the storm and flipping the fight when others can't. At the end of the day, Shawn Strickland's words didn't just stir up headlines, they reignited speculation. Could he actually be the one to stop the dominance? Or is this just Shawn being Shawn, talking big and stirring controversy like only he can? Either way, the buzz around a potential matchup only grew louder after his fiery comments. Move on to the reactions, because the MMA world had a lot to say after this fight. Kamaru was one of the first to react. He kept it short but meaningful, saying, "I hate to say it," and he threw in 2 shrug emojis to show exactly how he felt. It was almost like he didn't want to admit how one-sided things were, but he had no choice. Kamayu Bahayo also chimed in with a little tease, writing, "I have the answer." He didn't expand much, but the cryptic message made fans wonder if he was hinting at himself being the one who could stop Chimaev in the future. Bilal Muhammad, on the other hand, couldn't resist cracking jokes. He posted, "Shout out to Dricus. You showed a lot of heart and you never gave up. Just kidding. You sucked. That was 5-10-8s. He followed that up with another sharp jab. "Told you it would be easy." Bilal has never been shy when it comes to speaking his mind, and this was no different. Then came Conor McGregor's reaction, and it caught some people off guard. Conor celebrated Chimaev's win with a post that read, "China's first UFC champion, congrats." Whether it was a slip, sarcasm, or just Conor being Conor, it created plenty of chatter online. Bo Nickel also admitted he felt the pressure watching this performance, saying, "I really gotta lock in." For someone like Bo, who is also a dominant wrestler, that comment showed how seriously other fighters were taking Chimaev's dominance. Michael Bisping kept his thoughts straightforward. "Wow, total domination." Meanwhile, Jack Hermansson offered a more analytical take. He wondered if Reinier de Ridder might actually be the toughest stylistic matchup for Chimaev, writing, "You need jiu-jitsu if you want any chance." Hermansson's point highlighted what many fans were thinking: wrestling alone might not be enough to deal with Chimaev. Ariel Helwani summed up the fight in his usual polished style. Fight concludes, Chimaev 5 rounds to 0, total dominance. But credit to Dricus, who never quit and had some hope in the 5th. The Chimaev era has officially begun. His words reflected the mood of many viewers, recognizing Dricus's toughness but also acknowledging the start of something historic. Dominic Cruz added his perspective, saying, "Same pace, same pressure, same style, completely effective." Coach Firas Zahabi went even further, calling the performance incredible and predicting, "He will be one of the most dominant champions ever." That's high praise coming from a strategist like Zahabi. Not everyone was impressed though. Paulo Costa posted, "No one wants to watch this. People booing in the arena and at the bar." Derek Brunson added some humor, joking that old UFC matchmaker Joe Silva would have cut Chimaev for being a wrestler. Henry Cejudo gave a more balanced take, saying, "Dricus showed heart, but Chimaev is on another level right now. He may be champion for years to come." Finally, the man of the hour himself spoke after the fight. Khamzat said, "That guy's strong, that boy. Sorry boys. Happy always. Get my money. Then send my money, brother. I'm waiting for that more. And that belt is important for my country." His words were classic Chimaev, broken English, raw honesty, and full of emotion. It was clear from the flood of reactions, the MMA community knows a new era may have just begun. Later in the show, we also had Johnny X stirring the pot by suggesting that Ilia Topuria could eventually fight Islam Makhachev. He went even further, saying he actually favors Islam to beat Ilia, not just at lightweight but also at welterweight. And X said, "First things first, Islam has to handle business against Jack Della Maddalena at Madison Square Garden, but regardless of that outcome, the possibility of Islam versus Ilia is very real. If Islam loses, he'll definitely drop down for it, and if he wins, chasing a legacy fight with Ilia still makes perfect sense." But here's where it gets interesting. Ilia's former training partner, Khamzat Chimaev, has a different opinion. He says Ilia should fight Arman Tsarukyan instead, calling them the two best lightweights who need to settle it in the cage. Arman isn't shy either. He insists he's the more complete fighter, brushing off Ilia's wrestling completely, and saying Ilia only brings boxing while he has kicks, knees, elbows, wrestling, and grappling. Arman even claimed he's the better striker overall, saying he can beat Ilia anywhere the fight goes. So with an addict planting seeds for Ilia versus Islam, Khamzat pushing for Ilia versus Arman, and the fighters themselves going back and forth, the lightweight division feels ready to explode no matter which direction the UFC chooses. And it closed his thoughts by saying, "I do think you'll see Islam back at 55, that's the fight. That's a dream matchup. If I had to send anybody in there, maybe across two divisions, to beat Ilia right now, I would send Islam in there. I think he's got a great shot."